This is the Nations Conspire channel. Welcome to today's show. When Donald Trump announced Project Stargate, I talked about some of the things that were being discussed by some of the cretins like Larry Ellison of Oracle. And it's a topic I have discussed thoroughly over the last couple of years on the website, on YouTube, about a cure for the big C. After the pivot, because remember, these people create plans. If things don't go according to plan, they have plan B, plan C. They pivot. But ultimately, what it's all about is getting under your skin, getting inside of your body and getting a certain something inside of your body. So obviously, a few years ago, we saw everything that happened and we saw the pushback and we saw how skeptical people were, even of something existing in the first place. And suddenly we saw Big Brother start implementing things like social distancing and contact tracing, and it made people more and more suspicious. So over the last couple of years, I've talked about how they would pivot to something that's more common, something perhaps like the big C. And I want to cover some of the stories that are out there because ever since Trump talked about being able to cure the big C, there have been articles coming out that are conditioning you and programming you into eventually accepting this technology and seeing it as the be-all, end-all of curing the big C. Now, most people out there should know that your body is your temple, as the Bible tells us, and there are ways that you can cure naturally things that are going on underneath the skin. And a lot of the big C is caused from the things being done to us from the skies, from in our water, from people getting certain things injected into them, or just what is shoved in our food every single day, whether it's the pesticides they spray on the food they call organic, or it's processed food that people are subjected to eat because suddenly it's more expensive to buy fruit and vegetables than it is to buy cookies and cereal and other processed foods. So let's take a look at some of the stories that are out there. Because remember, this isn't about the creation of the technology. The technology is in place. This is about the conditioning you into accepting it. It didn't work the last time the way they expected it to work. Like I said in previous videos, people weren't anti-vax pre the outbreak that occurred like they became. There was lots of people out there that would roll their eyes at discussions about the ramifications of getting a lot of these shots at a young age inside of your body, the flu shot and all that stuff. And it's changed. It's all changed after that happened. So they have to pivot, right? Instead of hearing about variants and variants and variants, right? Have you noticed that there's no discussion of variants anymore? How come for years after it all happened, we just kept hearing about variants that they had already created and gave us a list of the names that they'd be called ahead of time. And suddenly they just watch the data, because remember, the data they study is you. They listen to what you say online. They listen to what you say in your home. That's what the government does. That's what all these people in the government do every single day is they spy and they listen. And they saw that too low of a percentage of people were buying it and too low of a percentage of people were going to get it. So the pivot is now to the big C. You've heard even people like Joe Biden, other presidents talking about they were going to find the cure. So now it's about conditioning you into accepting this as a cure and putting blindfolds on this time around because, well, I know somebody who died of the big C. My grandma died of the big C. Somebody I know has breast cancer. Somebody I know has prostate cancer. This is something that's real. It's serious. You know it. It affects your life, right? The pivot here is the scare tactic of you not wanting to get it and you not wanting to die young. And naturally, they want you to forget about how desperate they were years ago to get a certain something inside your body. So here are some of the stories that are out there, okay? This is the one that I'm going to read to you in a few minutes about a woman who has already taken the big C vax, like the one that Trump is spearheading. It reversed her cancer. Here's some of the other stories, right? Because remember, this is universal propaganda. This is worldwide that they're going to instill the fear, of course, of you getting the big C and then tell you that, look, scientists are figuring out a way to get rid of this. And again, they're not mentioning COVID anymore. I hate to say the word for the sake of the algorithm, but they don't mention it anymore because here's the pivot, right? So Cure for Cancer, UK scientists are creating a vaccine that could stop disease up to 20 years early. Russia developing a cancer vaccine to distribute for free. Russia's developed an mRNA vaccine against cancer, which will be distributed to cancer patients for free. So other countries are also using this same propaganda about curing cancer and being ready to cure it and being ready to tell you about how this will save everybody's life. This will put an end to it all, but all you got to do is go and get it. And this is where I want to pivot into what they're actually doing here before I read you the article and the propaganda so you can see it for yourself. Okay, this is the United Nations website, Harnessing Artificial Intelligence for Health. Okay, the World Economic Forum, artificial intelligence, healthcare. And when you look at the wheel, they have all these things that they're going to lure you in with, which you've already been conditioned with wearable technology, right? All in preventative medicine, use AI-assisted robotics in medicine, AI in medical diagnostics, all in medical treatment, right? And these are things that people just go, oh, okay, I don't know. Is that what's going to happen? Is that what they're going to do? They're going to use AI? They don't understand what they're actually telling them, right? They just hear AI. They don't even know what AI is yet. And obviously, I've talked about it for so long with quotes from Elon Musk about literally summoning the demon, right? Or interviews or speeches given by Gordy Rose about how that's what they're doing. They're summoning the demons with these quantum computers. But people hear this with AI healthcare and they just think, what? I'm going to have an app on my phone and I'm going to be able to look up my medical history and I'm going to be able to look at my x-rays that I just got, things like that. They don't get what it is. So let me explain it really quick. Right now, they've conditioned you with over-the-skin technology. That's the type of technology that you wear on your body, right? People wear Fitbits, people wear all sorts of devices that track their heart rates, that track their breaths, that track things inside their body, but from the outside. So it's not a full accurate read, but it does track your steps and all that stuff, right? And they've conditioned people into accepting this tech. When it first came out, people were like, that's a little too much. I don't really need to track my steps. Now you almost see everybody out there wearing one of these on their wrist where they're tracking and monitoring their exercise for the day, their heart rate for the day, and that's done by design. Over the skin turns into under the skin, which is really called surveillance technology. Surveillance is getting under our skin. That's what AI healthcare is. It's like having a pacemaker in, just way worse than a pacemaker. It's having tech inside of you that could alert you ahead of time that you have cancer, that you might get this, that this is low, your blood count here, your blood levels there, your white blood cells here. It's psychologically by design. They're convincing people that this is the future of technology because they want to get this inside of your body, which will edit your genetic code. Don't forget that. Here they are, just a few clips again of Yuval Harari. And even, this is how obvious this stuff is about getting under your skin. Russell Brand, who is taken from Hollywood, shoved into the quote unquote truther movement, which I've talked about, the hijacking of the truther movement, how they created the alt-right media. They give you a little taste of things that you would consider conspiracy, but they keep you stuck in the left-right paradigm. They parade around every day talking about liberal nonsense and all this other stuff. That's Russell Brand's role, right? Right in front of your face, he's got 33 tattooed on him, and he's got a show called Under the Skin. But here are some clips of them talking about getting under your skin.
Yuval, thank you so much for joining me on Under the Skin.
Yeah, it's good to be here again.
When surveillance goes really under the skin,
we need to monitor what's happening under the skin.
Surveillance technologies.
Surveillance going under our skin. Especially surveillance under the skin. We don't know hackable animals under the skin. We don't know hackable animals under the skin. We don't know hackable animals under the skin.
And again, the ultimate goal is just like Samsung, just like Apple, just like Google, they're all marketing AI the same way. You and AI as one. And when you see things like this where Elon Musk asked people to upload their medical data to X so his AI company could learn to interpret MRIs and CT scans, this is a way of easing this technology into being trusted technology, right? They have articles out there. Women claims Elon Musk Grok detected her daughter's fracture after doctors failed to diagnose it. This is the type of propaganda they'll continue to create, where AI is saving lives. They'll put it out there, and then the people, like they are, sheeple, the majority of them, will go out and repeat it. Hey, did you know, they hear a story about like this, right? And then somebody they know, their kid is having trouble walking. And they're like, yeah, they say nothing's wrong. Well, why don't you try that Elon Musk artificial intelligence thing? I heard it detected somebody's fracture after the doctors failed to diagnose it. Oh yeah, maybe I will try it. And they keep spreading it, right? Somebody had a diagnosis that the doctors missed and they ended up dying of the big C, but they could have been saved if they used the AI ahead of time to detect this, because the AI can detect it months, years in advance, right? They're conditioning you into this, and it all goes back to what we're seeing now with Project Stargate. So this is the story from the Daily Mail of this woman who has taken the the big C vax, right? I'm sure just some operative that they rolled out there. Did anybody even know there was one available to take? But apparently this person got it. So let me read you the propaganda they're using so you can understand, hey, there's other people out there that are going to read this, and then you're going to come in contact with those people. And that's how the propaganda works. They're going to start talking about this as a real thing. They're going to ignore what happened 4 years ago because they're going to say, look, I mean, I'm not totally anti it. When I was born, I got a polio one and all sorts of ones, right? So I won't be opposed to this one versus that one. So the article says when Donald Trump unveiled a $500 billion plan to spearhead a big C vax, many greeted it as another of his grandiose proposals. But not Anna Bachensky, a 53-year-old New Yorker, is one of the few people in the world who knows how life-changing the shots can be. The administrative worker was told she had months to live in January 2021 after her aggressive breast cancer returned and stopped responding to treatment. After a 6-year battle with the disease, which included numerous surgeries and 32, surprise it's not 33, brutal rounds of radiation, the cancer had spread to her ribs and spine, where it had become virtually incurable, known as metastatic. As a last resort, she was enrolled in a clinical trial for an experimental Big C vax developed at the famous Mount Sinai Hospital in Manhattan. The vax works by melting away the primary tumor and teaches the body to hunt and kill the cells that have spread elsewhere. Within weeks, the tumors in her back and a tennis ball-sized tumor under her armpit disappeared, while a third in her chest shrunk. Now, almost exactly 4 years after taking this, she says, "It saved my life. At that time, there was nothing I could do. There was nothing that could ever treat my cancer." Spoken like a true government operative. Sounds like a robot. Hundreds of experimental cancer Big C vaxes are in production around the world, but President Trump's newly announced AI project could be the catalyst that finally brings these shots to the public. Last week, amid a flurry of executive orders, the new president announced the $500 billion Project Stargate, which he described as the largest AI infrastructure project in history. It is hoped that the project will create tens of thousands of new jobs and usher in new technological revolutions, which includes fast-tracking medical cures. AI would be used in blood tests to scan for tiny tumor cells, which neither humans nor current lab tests are sensitive enough to detect. Then AI would also be used to replicate the tumor's genetic material into an mRNA vax, which teaches the body's cells how to recognize and fight the Big C, similar to how the corona vaxes worked. So that's the key thing to pay attention to. They start by saying AI is going to detect it. So it sounds like it's an out-of-body thing at first, right? Oh, well, we'll take your blood and then we'll let AI look at it versus a human under a microscope, right? That's the transition. It starts like that. Then they say, hey, why even bother with the blood test? Why not have AI under your skin where AI can detect it months in advance, years in advance? It can alert you. It could automatically alert your phone, alert your device, which will eventually be in you anyway. And then you could go and you could get your own customized mRNA vax to treat it. And again, the key term in all of this is replicating the tumor's genetic material into an mRNA vax. That's what they have to do, is gene editing. That's what the end game is. Editing your genetic code. Remember, we're all created uniquely. We're all created with our own genetic code. They want to edit those codes. So you'll no longer be a creation of God. You'll be a creation of man, because it's man who is trying to edit what God created, your genetic code, your specific individual genetic code. So it goes on to say, But Trump, who bankrolled the magic potions, the father of the vax, with government grants, faced anger among some right-wing political commentators due to the divisiveness for the corona ones. So again, they're going to start trying to convince these people that it's not the same thing. They want you to trust in Musk. They want you to trust in RFK. I talked about this in a previous video this week. I said, look, RFK is going to talk about getting stuff out of processed foods because they don't care anymore about poisoning you via processed foods. They're poisoning us every single day, every way they can. And all they have to do is change what's on the label. Doesn't mean that they're going to change what's actually in the processed foods. It'll be the same crap with a different name. But this is how they build back trust. Remember that theme from the World Economic Forum. We need to regain public trust. Governments need to regain public trust. So they're trying to do that with guys like RFK, guys like Elon Musk. That's why every other tweet people like Elon Musk make are about sane topics, right? There's only 2 genders he tweets out every couple hours. So he draws you in. You're like, he's totally right. There's only 2. Yeah, no crap, right? But in between there, he's talking about getting a brain chip inside your body. So back to the story here. Miss Bochensky can sympathize with the view of people who are anti getting these shots. She said, I know there was controversy over RNA vaccines in the pandemic, but I think the cancer vaccine, I'm 100% proof it saves lives. Unfortunately, her cancer has mutated and she is still receiving chemotherapy to try to clear the remaining tumor cells, but she still credits the vax with giving her a lifeline. However, if it was not for the cancer vax, we would not be talking now. I'm positive, she said, because she wouldn't be alive. So there you go. I'm sure most people overlook the fact that she's in remission, but they're not announcing this as the actual cancer vax yet. So about 20 to 30% of breast cancer patients see their diseases recur. The cancer jab Miss Bochensky took was slightly different from those which use mRNA tech. Here, hers was injected directly into tumors, meaning only patients with external cancerous masses can currently benefit. It contains a higher dose of a naturally occurring protein that rapidly multiplies levels of they expect people to understand it. They know that they won't. That's why they do this. So that people just go, well, it's above my head. I guess I'll try it. It's either that or I'll die, right? But it says dendritic cells in the body, also known as professor cells, they kill the tumor and teach T cells in the body to be on the lookout for rogue cancer cells that are spread elsewhere. In MR.NA Big C vaxes, scientists take a sample from a cancer patient's tumor and analyze its genetic code. Every tumor is genetically different, which means no 2 cancer vaxes would be the same. That's another way they're going to market this. Individually to you. It's your own personalized one. So you don't feel like, well, they're not going to try to kill me and give me my own, you know what I mean? Where it's mass produced, everybody thinks, well, it's mass produced. They're trying to depopulate, right? They're sending it out to the Walgreens, CVS, everybody's got it. It's all the same ones. Now you can pick from the 3, but it's essentially the same, right? Well, here's one personally for you. Personally for the narcissist out there that needs one. Personally for them, for their own ego. Well, I got my own. It's personal to me. It's got my name right on the vial too, and even a little picture of me on it. Woo, how exciting. So it says, then they use part of this called RNA to develop a bespoke vax for the patient in a lab. When injected, the shot will deliver the instructions for the body's cells to produce a harmless part of the tumor, provoking a response from the immune system. This process trains the immune system to spot this element of the cancer in the future, providing protection against the disease. The barrier to bring, they keep going and going because they know the majority of people don't get it. So they hear this stuff, like, it sounds pretty specific. It sounds pretty high tech. Now, maybe I should try it. There's not many other options. Chemotherapy, you lose your hair, it doesn't work. Okay, sign me up. Sounds complicated, right? It is hoped that AI could address the price of these things, which they claim would take months to make and cost around $100,000 per shot. It is hoped that AI could address both the sticking points, rapidly speeding up production times, because remember, time is short if you're trying to get this in by 2030. Larry Ellison, the chief technology officer at computer software Oracle, which is involved in the Trump administration joint project, said it could happen in 2 days. He said at a press conference this last week, as you heard, they can get it done in 48 hours using AI. And then the article wraps up with going back into Miss Bochensky's backstory, right? Because when they give you these characters and they give you a backstory, that's all done by design. That's why every time there's an event at a school, they give you the background on every kid involved, right? Just a make-believe story of Jane Doe and George Glass. And here's the story about the kid, or here's the story about the AI-produced picture that we put out there on the news that nobody thinks could be AI. And we tell you about them. They'll have a cookie-cutter picture with their parents that looks like it came from Sears. And they're sitting there and they go, oh, and she loved painting rainbows, and she had 33 crayons, and nobody figures out the coding. Everyone thinks it's real, and they get emotionally sucked in, which is why it's hard for them to listen to people who say that these are false flag government events because they're emotionally sucked in. So you're going to hear a lot of stories about people like Miss Pachensky, and then you're going to relate. And you're going to relate to somebody you know. Oh, they had breast cancer. Oh, I saw how rough they were. Oh, they were losing weight. Things were rough, right? They did chemo. It didn't help. We are now in the conditioning phase for the big C vax. They are going to produce a lot of propaganda. And by propaganda, I mean any story that's out there, whether it's the Daily Mail or CNN or USA Today, they're going to start talking about, well, people out there who have it, they tried it out, they're doing a trial run, they're cured, right? Just like the Neuralink. We talked about that on my channels, right? How they rolled the Neuralink out. Well, they're going to give you a guy with Parkinson's or a guy who's paralyzed. So what are you going to do? You're going to reject it? Well, I can't say that he shouldn't take it. He's paralyzed. I couldn't imagine being paralyzed. So it's great that they're making this type of tech, right? The tech isn't for the paralyzed guy. The tech is for you. The tech is to get in you, me, all of us. They're not doing it because they give a crap about somebody with Parkinson's who they gave Parkinson's to in the first place with the chemical metal baths that they give us every single day. They're not trying to cure anything. They're trying to get you to be okay with this tech existing, not to push back on artificial intelligence and say, wow, it really is helping. We can't push back. I heard some crazy conspiracy theorists talk about getting rid of AI and getting rid of tech. We can't, because look at this guy. He's got Parkinson's disease. He can now talk again. He can now give commands to the computer. So that guy's crazy because that's not fair to the guy who's got Parkinson's, right? But they don't even know how he got it in the first place. If they knew how he got it in the first place, they'd be thinking differently because they'd say, well, if you guys gave it to him in the first place, now you're coming in with the Neuralink. Doesn't that mean that really this is ultimately about getting this type of technology inside of our bodies? Oh yeah, it is. It's about getting under your skin. So pay attention because there will be propaganda out there. This will occur during Trump's 4-year reign here at some point. Again, you keep an eye on the story with Russia. How, here in America, they're saying, well, it could be really, really expensive. Well, Russia's giving them away for free. Oh, they are. Okay. Personalized is another thing to keep an eye on. It's a propaganda talking point. It's like no different than talking to a child, right? Well, you could have your own ice cream cone, right? You can have your own toy. I'll give you your own room or your own phone or your own whatever the parents are giving their kids, right? And the kid lights up. I can have my own? Yeah, that's how they treat most of these people because most of these people are adult children. So they tell you, oh, you could have your own personalized one. Ooh, like my own personalized custom tattoo or my own personalized this or that or my own personalized license plate since I'm a child. Yup, just like that. Okay, well, now I'm not suspicious about it as much because you're not giving it out to the whole world. Right, but they are, and you're all getting the same ones. You're all getting the same black goo. I thank everybody for being here. Anybody out there that sees propaganda like this, share it with me. Share it on the website specifically so I can see it. I want to continue covering it because it's really important to understand that all the news is propaganda. All of it. It's all propaganda. These stories condition you into accepting things and rejecting things. It's not there to inform you. They didn't go interview Miss Pachensky because they wanted to inform you about her tale from 4 years ago. What, they just tracked her down? Trump made the announcement and they were like, let's see, is anybody? Well, apparently it doesn't exist. We were told that there isn't even such a thing. So how did they find Miss Pachensky? She wrote a letter to the Daily. I'd love to tell my story about it because they create the news. It's manufactured news because the product they're really trying to manufacture is you. And that's what they use the news for. I thank you for being here. Hope you're all well. God bless you and your families as always.